On March 14, 2016, Amtrak Train number 4, the Southwest Jeep, was traveling from Los Angeles, California to Chicago, Illinois. It was near Cimarron, Kansas. The train consisted of two Amtrak P-42 DC locomotives with 153 leading and 152 trailing. The train had one baggage car and 9 Superline coaches. 130 passengers and 14 crew members were on board the train. It was nighttime and the train was flying down the tracks. With the passengers and crew relaxed, nothing really happened on this trip. But suddenly, the engineer spotted a misaligned track as soon as he came into view. He tried to slam the brakes and tried to stop the train, but it was too little and too late. The Amtrak train derailed at 12:02 a.m. The force of the derailment caused 4 cars to fall on their side, and the 2 others derailed but remained upright. The remainder 4 cars stayed on the tracks, as did the 2 locomotives. After the derailment, the conductor instructed the engineer to radio the train dispatcher and require emergency assistance. The engineer radioed the BNSF train dispatcher 3 times, but he did not reach the dispatcher. After the 3rd attempt, the study engineer used his cell phone to call 911 to report the derailment and ask for emergency assistance. As the conductor and assistant conductor moved through the passenger cars, they shared glow lights to the passengers and escorted the passengers to safety in the darkness. Emergency medical personnel arrived at the scene at 12:12 a.m. Amazingly, as a miracle, not a single person in the train was killed. Only 28 people were injured. 3 remained hospitalized for more than 24 hours, including 2 people who were critically hurt and later airlifted to Amarillo, Texas. The rest were released on the same evening as the accident. One of the airlifted victims was the percussionist and experimental musician named Stefan Joe Weiser, also known as ZF, a pioneer of industrial music. After the accident, passengers waited about 12 hours in Cimarron at the 4-H Recreation Center when cots and blankets were set up. Food was provided by local restaurants. They then boarded buses to Kansas City and transported to Chicago-bound train. But everyone's wondering the same question. What caused this train to derail like this, and why? Was it sabotage? A bomb? What was it? The National Transportation Safety Board launched an investigation into the accident. The Gray County Sheriff's Department said there was a separation vehicle accident that had made damage to rails, and authorities were examining tire tracks leading to the train tracks and preventing the scene with the crime scene tape. Later reports said that an agricultural vehicle damaged the tracks prior to the train derailment, 25 feet from the impact. The tracks were disabled 12 to 14 inches by the impact. This displacement of the tracks could have been seen in the video recorded by the camera on the locomotive. Investigators traced the tire tracks to a 2004 Kenworth International truck at Cimarron Crossing Feeders. They observed recent damage to the truck's bumper that was consistent to the striking of the railroad ties. The front left and front right bumper mounted brackets were broken. The fracture face were clear and shows no sign of oxidation, indicated a recent break. Fresh scratches and rocks consistent with the truck ballast were on the bumper. So the National Transportation Safety Board determined that the probable cause of the derailment was the agricultural truck driver failure to properly secure his unattended truck, which rolled downhill and struck the BNSF railroad tracks, causing them to misalign. Contributing to the accident was the failure of the truck driver and his supervisor to report the incident to the local police. On April 8, 2016, a lawsuit was filed by Amtrak and BNSF against Cimarron Crossing Feeding, LLC. Its negligent employees of Cimarron's Crossing Feeding for leaving a Kenworth truck unattended, out of gear, and without any brake supply while loading grain between March 13th and 14th. According to the lawsuit, the truck from the Cimarron facility rolled down the hill south, crossed US Highway 50, and struck the side of the railroad tracks. The truck then came to rest on the tracks. According to the lawsuit, Cimarron's crossing feeders then call a tow truck to remove the Kenworth without permission or consenting from BNSF, which owns the tracks. The initial feeling that the damage claims are over $75,000 for each of BNSF and Amtrak. It also stated that specifically employee of Cimarron's crossing feeders, one, Ontario Carrera, was working on loading the truck involved in the incident. It also states that Cimarron should have known that the damage to the tracks are dangerous, and yet they did not call Amtrak, BNSF, or any law enforcement agents. A liability trial was cancelled on November 28, 2018 after Cimarron's crossing field admits that the truck caused track damage. In the end, the coaches that derailed were repaired and put back into service, while the Amtrak locomotives remain undamaged and quickly put back into service. They still continue to be in service to this day. After the derailment, ZF continues having health problems, but he managed to continue on with his career until passing away on December 16, 2017 in Chicago from pulmonary failure. 5 years have passed since the derailment, even though it wasn't a very bad derailment, but some people involved will never forget their experience of surviving a train derailment.